Man today will be briefing you on the Zillow houses prompt and how we scrape data from there, and basically using this to determine how you can flip houses. So first you'll see here on our interactive map, we have a color shade scale on the side here, which determines puts the price per square foot of each house in bins, and they're shaded different colors. So if we look at these really dark ones, $32 per square foot. This one we're looking at $138 per square foot. You click on it and we get the address and all the good stuff. Worth noting here is our modeled price, which is a multiple linear regression model that we came up with that determines a modeled price for each home. Over here we have our summary statistics, which breaks down the homes by their type. We get our average price for that type, the average price per square foot for that type in this area, the average square footage and by type in this area, and the average year they were built here. Here we have a graph that was built using Plotly, an additional R package that it creates interactive maps here. We can look at whether or not a home is waterfront or not waterfront, the price here by our square footage here. So moving into our analysis, basically, what we have here is how our price decreases with time. So we have broken up our the homes in this zip code into two different categories, one being above the average price for a home and one being below. As we can see here, the ones below generally stay below at this level, but the ones above, as time increases, they generally decrease, as you can see from the negative slope here. Here we have whether or not bedrooms matter on price. What we can see here is that bedrooms do matter with price, besides this one outlier that has 0 bedrooms, which makes 0 sense. As we can see here, looking at our bathrooms, the more bathrooms a home has, the generally higher price they will be. What we can see here is houses that are on the waterfront are generally more expensive than houses that are not, as we can see from the average price there. Here we have the year a house was built by its average price for that category. So here, starting in 1902, working our way up to 2020, we don't really see any trends. It's just kind of all over the place. So there's no correlation there. Looking here, we look at whether or not parking spaces matter to price. And in conclusion, they don't matter. As you can see from down here, we got 1 parking space, 6 parking spaces, both around the same price, and the most expensive homes have 3 parking spaces. Doesn't really make any sense, but it could be attributed to the inaccuracy that's built into Zillow by placing homes that are in pre-foreclosure on the market with inaccurate data. Here we're looking at square footage by price. So the higher square footage a home is, the higher price it'll generally be. We've broken this down into 2 categories of waterfront and not waterfront. As we can see, waterfront homes increase at a higher rate than not waterfront homes. So in conclusion, we wanted a home that was on the water. It's been on Zillow for a while. It's got many bedrooms, bathrooms, lots of square footage, and it needs to be under the average price in that zip code. And it needs to be under the average price per square foot in that zip code. So what we came up with the house on 39 Shadow Lane. It is listed for a price of just under $197,000. Price per square foot is $42, $100 under the average for the area. It is on the waterfront, and using our model, we come to find an evaluation of $766,000, leaving almost $500,000 for renovations and to make a profit. So looking here at our 12550 zip code, which is in Newburgh, New York, what we can see here is the same kind of stats that we have going on for the 33813 zip code. Moving on to our analysis, we use the same type of analysis here. Looking at our time, same kind of trends we saw in 33813. So the longer a home is on Zillow, if it's above the price, it will decrease. If it's below the price, it will remain generally the same. Worth noting here is that the number of bedrooms does not matter. If we look here, it skips around these numbers a lot, and you can't really determine any trends based off of that. So bedrooms do not correlate to higher price. However, bathrooms do. As you can see here, the number of bathrooms does correlate to a higher price. as well as being on the water. If you have a waterfront home, it will be generally more expensive. The year built does not matter, just like 3313. When we're looking at our parking spaces, they do not matter at all. Generally, as I talked about in the 3313, probably due to the lack of accurate data on Zillow. When we're looking at the price of a home, how it affects by square footage, same thing as 3313, the same kind of trends, a little bit more exaggerated by some of these houses that are more expensive, but generally the more square footage a house has, the more expensive it'll be. If it's on a waterfront, it will increase higher, likely due to the demand. So in conclusion, what we found here is we need to meet all the same requirements we found in 3313 besides bedrooms. So we're just looking at bathrooms, no bedrooms, and all the same requirements. What we found is 63 Carson Avenue. It's listed right now for a price of $49,000. Price per square foot is $34. And using our multiple linear regression model, we came up to a price of $182,711, leaving almost $150,000 there for profit minus renovation costs. I'll pass this over to Marcus now to take us through Barrington and Illinois.
Okay, so as we see here, this is the 60010 zip code. It's worth noting that the area of houses being sold here, there's a lot more of them being sold on the market here, as well as we have the same stuff over here with this graph. Most of the houses here reside within that 10,000 square footage, with a couple outliers ranging very pretty expensive. And moving on to our analysis. So again, pretty similar to the last two. The longer that a house has been on the market, it doesn't really correlate too much with the price that it has. Again, similar to the other zip codes, the more bedrooms that a house has, the higher and more expensive the house will be. And the same with the bathrooms. The more expensive the house correlates to more bathrooms. And being on the waterfront, with a little bit more expensive, being on the water, attributed to the demand. And again, the year that the house was built doesn't really correlate too much. It's pretty spread out here. It doesn't really attribute much. And then the amount of parking spaces doesn't really correlate to a higher price for the house. Again, these are all pretty much spread out and don't really do much. And then this is similar to the first graph. Houses that have more square footage usually have a higher price. It is worth noting that the waterfront houses here tend to decrease considerably as opposed to those that are not waterfront. And then after looking at all this, we still want a house that is on the waterfront, considering that they still run for a little bit more money. A home with many bathrooms and bedrooms, a home with a lot of square foot. We want it to be under the average price for that type of home and under the average price per square foot for that home as well. And this is the house that we found. It meets all those same requirements and is priced around $310,000. And the average price per square foot is about $104. And then using our multiple regression model, we priced this house at around $415,000. It is worth noting that because this market seems to be a little bit saturated, considering a lot of the houses won't really move too much, this really wouldn't be the zip code area that we want to look at for a house. We'd probably want to go for the house in Newburgh or the 33813 neighborhood. And sir, ma'am, this concludes our brief.